Hey.
Good morning, Chitty Hoos.
We made it. We're live. Hello, everyone. Wheezy got the belt today. Congratulations, Wheezy.
Good for Wheezy.
Warren's here. Michigan's here. Michigan, good to see you. Drew down in the building. No, he's not. He stinks, Drew. Everybody was right about Buddy Hield. Every single person. Zabo, what's up, man?
Did they win last night?
What's up, bro? No, God, no, they didn't. Of course not.
Oh.
Chris, Adam, what's good? Cousin Pete's here.
Hi, Steven Castaneda.
Cut the shit. What's up, Steven? Did I say hi to Cousin Pete? What's up, Cousin Pete?
Hello, Cousin
dropping
Pete.
in.
Germs.
Hey, Germs. Chris, hope you're safe down there. Wear a mask. What's up, KC? What's up, Jared? Good morning, good morning.
Casey, the
Norm
Casey
Will,
Tucker
what's
band.
good?
Yep.
Loki Trickster, hello. 20 seconds to showtime.
Kings are now a game and a half.
You got Steph Curry
6.
curling off a screen and hoist a fucking 40-footer with 3 seconds left. God. What's up, Jay? All right, hit the like button. It's showtime. All right. I was going to do this later, but we'll just do it now since it's all the rage in the chatty house. Dr. David, good morning. Hello. Wilson, what's up? Good morning. James Ham's there. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're hanging out with you until noon. We got a ton to get into with the Kings playing the Bucks tonight. The NFL first round of the NFL playoffs finally wrapped up yesterday. We got to talk a little bit about De'Aaron Fox. But before we get into anything else, including the news that Malik Monk is out tonight, Chris Biederman of the Sacramento Bee reported that this morning. Monk was at shoot around in sweats and slippers.
Yeah, sweats and slippers.
Which is a good indicator that he's out. But then Chris reported that Malik is not playing tonight. He was questionable on the last injury report we saw with a groin or a groin injury, and he will be out tonight. And I want to get into that. But I just need to say again, because on this show, we're about accountability. I cannot stand sports talk shows where the host says something wrong and then just glosses over it.
Okay.
No reflection, no like, hey, I was wrong about this thing. Let's talk about why. Because for me, that's the most interesting stuff. I don't care that Nick Wright can rip off a hot take. I want to know what Nick Wright thinks when he's wrong.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I was wrong. Whatever. It's like, I'll do that sometimes. If somebody says, hey, are the Kings going to win tonight? Yeah. Like, sure. I think they're going to win tonight. And then they don't. It's like, oh, well, 82 games. You're not going to predict them all right. If I could, I'd make a lot of money.
That's right.
If I could predict every single NBA game, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys.
Amen.
To be frank. I was wrong. You all, anyone listening to this program, you, James, Damian, Kenny, Jesse, everybody in the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320. Everybody who interacts with me on Twitter.
Okay.
Everybody listening on the radio right now. Anybody who's called the program at the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. We'd love to hear from you. You were all correct. And I was wrong about Buddy Hield.
Oh.
That dude sucks. He's a losing player. I don't want him on my team anymore. I'm done with him. Down 3 to the Raptors, which, first of all, come on. Down 3 to the Raptors, closing seconds, Steph Curry curling off a screen, and Buddy, from the logo,
I got this,
with a hand in his face, launches up an air ball with the greatest shooter of all time, curling off his. He's going to catch, he's going to fire above the break, he's going to have a look. Buddy's like, I got this. It's Buddy Hield time. And the worst part is, Steve Kerr after the game is like, yeah, I'd draw it up for him again. He's a great shooter.
Erroneous.
Cool, man. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that this is where we're all at. You were all right. I was wrong. Salute. I'm in the Buddy Hield stinks camp now.
I have so many conversations with coaches during his time in Sacramento, and there are so many things that he does right. And he's a very, very fun dude. He's always got energy, all that stuff. But there was a game that sticks out so much. The Kings were up 6 with like 90 seconds left, and Buddy got the ball in transition on the right wing and hoisted from like 29 feet.
I mean,
with 21 seconds on the shot clock when the Kings were up 6 with 90 seconds left. And you just threw your hands up and said, you know what? I can't fix that.
Right. That's that.
I can't fix that.
Correct. That's what it is. He will inevitably be put in situations where, and this is what everybody said, like there's gonna be half a dozen times in a year where he just does the worst possible thing in a situation that is just a backbreaking play.
Yeah, no situational awareness at
Nothing.
all. At
all-time great shooter. There
Yeah.
are not that many people who have ever laced up sneakers in the NBA who can shoot the ball like Buddy Hield.
And a crazy hard worker. He shoots the ball so well because he works on his craft.
Yes.
He is a very, very hard worker.
Yes. He is not a winning player. You need him to go stand in the corner, and the only time he puts the ball up is when the ball comes to him. Fine. But man, just like, okay, I get it now. Like it's been leaning that way, but I'm like, yeah, okay, well, he's ice cold right now, so of course everything looks bad. Nope, that guy stinks. You were all right. I was wrong.
Hey, I was wrong too. I was wrong. I thought Minnesota would show up. I thought Sam Darnold would play for his paycheck and make good. And that's not at all what happened.
It's a fantastic transition by you.
That's not at all what happened, Kyle.
Was last night more about the Rams being good or the Vikings being bad?
I think it's more about the Vikings being bad. I know you might have a different take on that.
Sure.
I didn't think the Rams were good before the season. I thought they were marginal throughout most of the year. They had some moments. They were banged up a lot early with the receivers going down early and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm surprised that they're into the second round of the playoffs because I just thought that anyone out of the NFC West was going to get manhandled in the first round because not only did that team not like separate themselves, but they didn't separate themselves from a bunch of bad teams.
Sure. I feel like the Rams did separate themselves, though. They played really well down the stretch. They just got into that hole early that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because when you lose Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, it gets a lot harder to do offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just kind of what they struggled with throughout the year. But, man, you go watch how much they competed in Detroit. And then they were the Vikings lost 3 games all year. One of them was to the Rams. The other 2 were to the Lions. Like the Rams by the end of the year were playing really good football. And you saw it last night. Matthew Stafford, when he's dialed, is one of the very best quarterbacks in the sport. I know that nobody believes that because he was with Detroit for so long and they're perennial losers. And if you can't get it done in the playoffs, you're obviously not good. Justin Herbert's going through this right now. But when Matthew Stafford's dialed, there's just not that many quarterbacks who are better than him. And he was so dialed last night. I had him in underdog. I had him in my lineup to throw an interception. He didn't even come close. They had an answer for everything the Vikings defense was doing. Sean McVay and that coaching staff are awesome. The way they've rebuilt their defense, which was really the story of the night, their defensive line just in one offseason just got dramatically better.
Oh, yeah.
And that group started playing because it's all very young. That entire defense is super young. Of course, they're going to struggle a little bit out the gate. That's what happens with rookies. But they're all kind of locking in at the same time. And I don't necessarily think they're going to go in and beat Philadelphia. It wouldn't shock me. But I don't know that I'm going to pick them. I haven't looked at that game close enough yet. But I picked the Rams to win. I did not think they would dominate the game like that. And we'll talk about Sam Darnold because that's the other big storyline. But if you had told me, I wouldn't think there's any chance the Rams could go into Philly and win. But then you watch the way they dominated that game last night. And it wasn't even like, wow, look how unbelievably impressive the Rams are. They're a buzzsaw. They just kind of took over that game. They put it in a stranglehold early. They started salting away the clock like midway through the third quarter. They knew they didn't have to do anything. They just sat on the ball and won by 18.
Yeah, I've also, like, over the last 2 years, when Kyron Williams plays, they're, like, almost unbeatable. Like, he has been, like, a very, very important piece to what they're doing. When they run the ball and take some of the pressure off of Stafford, they are a very good team. They have great wide receivers. I mean, those are two of the best in the game, even though Cooper Kupp is clearly aging. But, you know, Puka is incredible, and they've got good guys all around him. So I'm not, like, completely shocked they beat the Vikings, because I think we all thought that there was a possibility for Sam Darnold to just flat out turn into a pumpkin,
which he did.
He did. He totally turned into a pumpkin.
Here's my and I've seen this in the chatty house, and this was all the discussion last night, was Sam Darnold lost so much money. And I don't know that that's necessarily true, because if you're in the market for a free agent quarterback, you know about what the going rate is going to be for somebody who just went 14-3. But I do think for me, my personal view on his season changed a lot, because it's really, I don't want to say it's easy. It's different. It is a different level to go dominate a regular season. I don't think it's a coincidence that in the two biggest games of the year, the two biggest games of his life, the Vikings offensive line struggled for sure. Like, dude, I don't want this to all be on Sam Darnold. The Vikings as a whole did not play well last night.
Yeah, the strip six was not. I didn't think that was his fault.
No, I mean,
he just got crushed.
Neither. Yeah, but what did he take? 7 sacks last night?
Something like that.
8 sacks last night. There were several of them, and then this happened in the Lions game too, where he was just not throwing the ball. The throws were there. The outs were there to get rid of the football and not take a hit, not get sacked. And he would not pull the trigger. He'd get to the top of his drop and you'd see him hesitate. We saw Brock Purdy do this a bunch this year too, where he'd get to the top of his drop and he'd kind of hesitate, and then he'd creep up in the pocket and he'd try and escape out. And that's where the offensive line becomes a problem, because there's no pocket to step into. There's no escape valve, because the offensive line is just getting its ass kicked. But I thought of the sacks last night that he took,
9 for 82.
So he took 82.
Yes.
82 yards lost.
Yes.
In sacks is crazy. But no, I bet of those 9, I haven't gone back and watched the film on all of them. I would guess 5 of them were because he just held the ball too long.
Yeah,
which was the problem in week 18 too.
When they came out in the third quarter, and right away he got popped, but he threw a laser that was caught. I think it was like a 23-yard gain or 26-yard gain right away into traffic, hits a wide receiver, crumples up, holds onto the ball. Then they couldn't move the ball once they got that first, and they punted on 4th and 5. And I'm like, at this point, you don't have, why are you punting now? The game is over right now. You punt the ball away, it's over.
The way the Vikings turtled up last night was embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to write them off entirely. Like, I'm not just going to go into a year like a Mike McCarthy team. I go into the year going, that's just not a Super Bowl team. Maybe they make the playoffs. I don't trust Mike McCarthy to win 3 or 4 playoff games. And a Super Bowl. I'm not going to put Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings in that bucket yet. But you're down 18 in a playoff game. Your season's on the line. You're going hurry up until the clock hits 0. You're pushing the ball down the field. You're doing whatever you can to try and figure out a way to win this game. Maybe break a long touchdown. Maybe get an onside kick. Maybe there are so many things that can just happen. And the way they ran the ball, took their time getting to the line, just the lack of urgency, to me, was a sign that the players, the coaching staff, they all laid down and quit.
Yeah.
And that is deeply concerning to me. The second it got difficult for the Vikings, they went, well, we're done. This 14-3 team, most wins ever by a wild card team. We're going to redo the playoff structure because it's not right that the Vikings have to go on the road after winning 14 games. All right, fine. But then for them to go lay down and quit the second it got a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
That makes me look at them differently.
Well, that at a neutral site. It wasn't even in LA.
It was loud as hell for the Vikings in there.
Yeah.
That was at minimum 50-50. I think on the broadcast they said it was expected to be 51% Vikings fans. But yeah, about 50-50. It's not like they went into Arrowhead It's not like they went into Green Bay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They
Here's a crazy stat too. They
Man.
gave up 9 sacks. Of the 9 sacks, 8 different players had at least a half sack.
Oh my
It
God.
wasn't one guy. They had 2 players with a sack and a half each,
Uh-huh.
but those half sacks came from other players, like just everybody on the team.
Yep.
I didn't even know they had like 8 guys that could get to the quarterback.
No.
I mean, that's just crazy.
When your
So,
defense is clicking, it just doesn't matter.
well, the Vikings are supposed to be that team. They're the blitzing team. They're the team that puts the pressure on the
Yeah.
quarterback from all the different angles. They got to Stafford twice. And
And-
we're talking Matthew Stafford. We're not talking like the dude is basically Dan Marino.
He gets to his spot and stands there.
Yeah.
I think they ran a draw with him once, or it might have just been a play that broke down. It felt like it took him a year and a half to get back to the line of scrimmage. It's like, oh my God,
reaching the ball out.
move your feet.
I can do it.
Nah, man. I not that I was. I mean, I don't care who wins necessarily. I was just so disappointed in the way the Vikings played that game, especially after getting your teeth kicked in week 18. And that was my concern. I said it going into week 18, Vikings Lions. I was like, the loser of this game is going to have a wake up call in the wild card round, because they go from, man, if we win, we get a bye and we get this time off and we're the number 1 seed and we got home field throughout. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, you got a game next week. You're going to be on a plane and you're going to LA or Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that shell shock to me was, I don't know that the Vikings recovered from getting blown out the way they did in week 18. And that's a problem. That is a leadership issue. And the Vikings are on gotta see it watch for me moving forward now, because that was embarrassing last night. What happened to them?
Totally. And I would tell you too, like I don't think that I think Sam Darnold will still be able to go out and get a starting quarterback job this year, like whether it's the Raiders. I mean, there are plenty of teams that are looking for a quarterback that, threw for over 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. And he's only 27, so you can lock him up long term and he can be your guy, right? But I think specifically he took one team off the board last night, and that was the Vikings. His team is the one he took off the board.
Interesting.
And
why do you say that?
Because I think that they already have JJ McCarthy ready to start. But I think if you went into that game and he just goes crazy and leads you to a victory, and then he gets to the next round and goes crazy and leads you to a victory, and you make it to the NFC title game, Sam Darnold's your guy. And you start looking at, like, can we get a second and a third for McCarthy? That's what I would be looking at if I'm them.
Sure.
But that's off the table now.
Yeah,
like,
he made the decision very easy.
Yeah, he did.
Eyes.
Yeah.
And it's, I kind of wonder, the whole discussion was Sam Darnold lost all this money last night. Let's just go through this. Teams that need a quarterback. Off the table: Detroit, Philly, Tampa Bay, Washington, Green Bay. Those are the playoff teams. They're not signing Sam Darnold. Seattle?
I don't think so.
No. Atlanta? No. Arizona? No. Dallas? No. San Francisco? No. Chicago? No. Carolina? Now probably not. New Orleans can't. They are in salary cap hell.
Yeah, unless he wants to play for free.
And then you've got the New York Football Giants.
Oh. Okay,
Maybe if they think Sam Darnold is the answer to their prayers. But I don't think that the New York Giants are going to want to spend a draft pick, or not a draft pick, but spend a bunch of money on Sam Darnold when they're at stage 1 of a rebuild.
Yeah.
But okay, that's one. Let's put down the New York Giants. Let's go to the AFC now. Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, Chargers, and Denver are all no's.
Yep.
The Steelers are an interesting team. We'll put the Steelers in the QB bucket.
Okay.
Cincinnati, no. Indianapolis,
no.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Miami, no. The Jets?
Well, Miami is a maybe because Tua could retire.
I doubt it. But if he does, sure.
Okay. The Jets, yes.
The Jets need a quarterback, but I don't know that they want to go back to the Sam Darnold well, but let's put him there. That's 3 teams.
Okay.
Right?
I think so.
Jacksonville, no. New England, no. Raiders, yes. Cleveland, probably not.
Cleveland's probably drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, Cleveland's probably drafting somebody. Tennessee's probably drafting. But at maximum,
Tennessee.
there's like 5 teams.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with Sam Darnold is the whole conversation we have with Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome this year, but look at the situation he was in. Kevin O'Connell is a very good offensive coach. You have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson came back this year. Aaron Jones, an outstanding defense. And he had the best year of his career and then turned into a pumpkin when the lights got bright.
Yep.
If I'm Tennessee, if I'm Cleveland, if I'm the Giants, if I'm the Jets, I'm out. If I'm the Raiders, I'm out. I'm not going to go spend $30+ million on this guy.
I think you can still get him for. I think that's probably the range he's in. Is now it's 30.
Mm-hmm.
He's well below that. The starting quarterback in the NFL is $30 million. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, but that's where he's at. He's at the bottom of a huge list, and his stats say that's not where he should be. Mm-hmm. But it is. He created what just happened here. He's in the Derek Carr phase of the pool that you're looking at, right? Mm-hmm. And so I mean that's kind of where I would put him.
Teams are going to have to decide whether the sample size of Sam Darnold prior to this year or the sample size of this year, like, is what we saw this year, was that growth where, this is something to build on? Or was this smoke and mirrors created by a perfect situation and whoever's paying for him is paying for fool's gold?
That's tough.
I'm fascinated to see how this goes. But yeah, I don't know that he lost money last night. I think there was a chance for him to move up, and I don't think he was able, if he had won playoff games.
Yeah, and I think he closed a few doors. Yeah. I do think he closed a few doors. Some teams are like, hey, we don't get to the playoffs, so it's okay. We would rather go with a quarterback that could at least try to get us to the playoffs. What happens once we get to the playoffs is a whole other story. Sure. But let's worry about that 2 years down the road. So I think he's in that phase.
Yeah. Interested to see what happens with Sam Darnold after the Vikings lose to the Rams 27-9. The Rams now go to Philly, and the Lions play the Commanders. That is that's in the NFC. And then in the AFC, of course, we will have the Texans and the Chiefs. And then we got Bills Ravens. Can't wait to dive into those games a little bit later in the week. If you missed it earlier, well, first of all, that's James. I'm Kyle. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is the Insiders. We're hanging out with you till noon here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento sports leader. Let's shift gears and talk about the Kings. A little more pertinent to our interests. Malik Monk out tonight. Chris Biederman of the Sacramento Bee reporting that this morning. I'm really, speaking of things I'm interested to see, we always talk about how the Kings can withstand, if De'Aaron Fox goes down or DeMar DeRozan goes down or whatever, they can withstand those losses. I think just personnel-wise, they can overcome the absence of Malik Monk. You have scorers, you have lead guards, you're fine. What I don't know is if missing him on the court and the tone that he sets and missing him emotionally on the floor is going to have an impact. And I genuinely don't know. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
But do we get a game tonight with Malik Monk out where we come in tomorrow going, man, they came out kind of flat. They look, because you talked about it yesterday. Is Malik a little bit out of control early in games, specifically in that game against Chicago? Like, yeah, a little bit. But he's setting a tone. He's setting a pace. And he's letting everybody on the court know this is what this game is going to be tonight.
Yep.
Follow me. Let's go. If you can't keep up, get out of here. We'll get somebody else who can. I'm interested to see if that tone gets set tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Kings have struggled without him. They were 2-5 last season with that. I mean, earlier this season when he sat out games. And last season, we know how the season ended with him, missing games. Let me just quickly. I see they finished 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-5 to finish the season.
That's last year.
Last season without him. And then they also lost a previous game that he missed earlier in the year as well. So 4-6 without him. That's not a good thing. I mean, we know what the energy and everything that he brings to the court. I totally get it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, like if you have to produce it and you need to figure out a way to get that energy. And if that's, again, Keon Ellis is going to slide right into the starting lineup tonight. There's no question about that.
Yep.
But can Devin Carter, can he bring that?
Sure.
Can he bring that sort of, I don't know, that energy and that power to the game that Malik brings?
Yeah. That
And
force.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know if he can because he's such a tempo setter, and I think that's what the Kings lack. When he's out, they just don't have that extra the thing that makes you change pace. And I'm interested to see, especially against a Milwaukee team that's playing a lot better, but they're also shorthanded. They're going to be
Mhm.
missing a few players as well. But like, look, that's it. Malik is super important, and I think everybody understands that over the course of the
Mhm.
last couple of years that he's one of those players that there's something different about him, and there's no way to like sort of quantify what it is
Mhm.
except for to look at the win-loss
Mhm.
record without him. And the fact is, like, the Kings need him as much as they need any player on that team.
Sure.
I think we always say, like, there's more value in Domantas Sabonis because it's just so difficult to replace what he brings as like a central hub.
Mhm.
And then Keegan Murray, you don't have the length and athleticism of a guy
Yeah.
like that. But Malik brings he brings the joy.
Yeah. He's
And
very unique. It's
yeah,
like intangible almost. Like
yeah,
he's a good player. Not trying to say he's not.
yeah.
But yeah, it's that intangible just factor that
Hmm.
he adds. And I don't know who brings that now. I I don't know that there's another player who can.
Yep.
It's just a matter of how do you make up for it?
Hmm.
How do you where do you find that spark without him? And this is where the Kings guard depth and this is why last year they go 4-5 without Malik Monk, and that's why it was such a big deal to bring in a guy like DeMar DeRozan, because if Malik Monk's out,
Yep.
okay, now you've got that secondary ball. Now you've got that secondary score. So like basketball wise, I think it's fine.
Hmm.
Like from a just schematic standpoint, from a what do the lineups look like standpoint, I don't fear that they have the depth to make up for that loss. It's just the emotional edge.
Yeah. Well, that I do like the idea of Keon Ellis picking up Damian Lillard full court the entire game.
Yeah.
Like that's a better matchup for you,
Mm-hmm.
just because Keon's a better defender,
Mm-hmm.
but you lose so many other things. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but hey, that's what coaching is about.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll continue talking about this. The Kings are at the Milwaukee Bucks tonight, looking to close out their 3-game road trip. We'll be talking about that next. The De'Aaron Fox trade stuff won't go away. It's just kind of lingering, and I thought it might go away once Mike Brown got let go. Actually, I thought it would ramp up once Mike Brown got let go. I would have thought it went away when they started winning. It has not, so we'll talk about that as well. But before we do any of that,
Mm-hmm.
I need to hear from you, James, about our good friends at Jiffy Lube who sponsor this program.
Oh yeah, we do have a live
Yeah, we do.
redo, don't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, no, we do. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that right now, and then I'm gonna push the button that plays the commercials.
That's right. It's a new year to keep your vehicle running smoothly, and my friends over at Jiffy Lube have an amazing new year oil change special going on right now for the month of January. Get a full synthetic oil change starting at just $76.99 with a $33 off coupon online. That's right, starting at just $76.99 for a full synthetic motor oil with online coupon. Go visit jiffylube.com today, find a location near you, and get that $33 off synthetic oil change coupon. Now valid until January 31st, up to 5 quarts of full synthetic motor oil. Most vehicles are covered. Specialty and diesel vehicles can be an extra charge. Must show coupon for discount. Happy New Year from Jiffy Lube, our friends over at Jiffy Lube.
Can the Kings make it 8 straight wins? We'll tell you next on ESPN 1320 and Sacramento Sports Leader. Clear.
Sorry, I forgot we had a read at the end.
I was trying to vamp so you could.
Yeah. The oil, Drew Down. The oil, the Warriors just need a quick oil change. Everything is totally fine. That's it. Hmm. This is a good question. They've got to have some sort of Ant-Man's. They have to have some sort of like, I don't know, like data on this that they don't like it. I don't get it. I think when they first started playing together, we saw a bunch of pick and rolls with Sabonis and Fox, but they typically, Malik is like usually he's either number 1 or number 2 in guard pick and roll play in the league. He's absolutely spectacular at hitting the roll man. When you try to run the pick and roll with Fox and Sabonis, it's different because they're both left-handed. So that's part of it, I believe, where, again, Malik likes to roll down the right side. And then when he drops a pocket pass to Sabonis, it usually goes to his dominant hand or he goes right up with the ball. So that's part of it. But I think there's also, like, if you got them on the left side and you started playing the pick and roll a little differently, where you gave Sabonis more of an option to roll himself with the ball, that's where I think it would come in handy. Let me see. Well, let's go to this from Jay. What's up, Jay? It seems like Doug has gone away from Len as a backup. Do you think it really highlights the need for a true backup center for this team, or small ball with Lyles the path forward? It's complicated. I do think that Doug has gone away from Alex Len. He was trying to set the defensive tempo, I believe, with Alex Len. But Trey has been able to handle himself as a small ball 5. And the fact is that most teams in the NBA don't have a 7-foot like backup center. Like really they don't. So you don't always need somebody out there that's full 7 feet tall. But where Alex comes in handy is if you go to the bench and there is a team that just starts attacking the rim. That's where you got to go put Alex Len in, and because Trey's just not a natural shot blocker. He's not horrible at shot blocking. He's just not a true shot blocking option, and he's undersized for a 5. So anyway, Alex, for whatever, he just has not been able to get into the flow at all. Oh.
All right, let's get into it. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We are sponsored by Jiffy Lube. The Sacramento Kings taking on the Milwaukee Bucks, looking to make it 8 wins in a row. We were talking about this a little bit while we were getting ready for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this, if you really sit down and like really think about it, it makes sense. But at the same time, it's shocking. If the Kings win tonight, it'll be their 8th consecutive victory. They'll close out this 3-game road trip where we went, man, you got to go 2-1. They'll close it out 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be like, they're already cooking. I don't want to say they'll really be cooking. They'll just continue cooking. She said, hey, when's the last time they won 8 in a row? You knew they won 7 in a row in the 22-23 season, but when's the last time they got 8? So I jumped on StatHead. Salute to the homies over at StatHead. It's a great resource. The last time the Kings won 8 games in a row was November 14th, 2003 to November 30th, 2003.
Okay, so November 14th. Is that what you said?
to November 30th of 2003.
That's wild.
If you were born, that streak got snapped December 5th, 2003.
Okay.
They lost in overtime to the Timberwolves. Sam Cassell, Kevin Garnett, and Latrell Sprewell combined for 96 of their 112 points, which is bananas. But anyways, if you were born on that day,
okay,
you turned 21 on December 5th, 2004, and have never seen the Kings win 8 or more games in a row.
Okay, so
that's insane.
Just so you know, I do happen to have a 21-year-old, Kyle, who was born on May 8th, 2003, the day that Chris Webber blew out his knee in the playoffs.
Oof. Well, that's right, because you watched in the hospital.
I did.
On the hospital TV.
The little tiny hospital TV in the corner, the little 13-inch tube TV in the corner, pre-flat screen.
Had knobs.
Yes, it was
no remote.
Maybe it had a remote, or maybe I had to call for someone to change the channel. That's possible. Yeah, so my son can now walk into a bar and drink and has never seen. I mean, he saw that as an infant. He's never actually seen experienced the 8-game winning streak in the way that one does.
It makes sense because the futility was so expansive for the Kings. But not one time did they get on a heater against like a bad stretch of teams, or a couple teams had their best players out and they just fell into 8 wins.
They were the bad team that other teams got,
but like
expanded their win streaks.
Early in the 03-04 season, like that was a really good team.
Well, they were good until 06.
Right.
Yeah, the 06 team, the 05-06 team is one that recovered from like a huge deficit. And after the Peja Stojakovic Ron Artest trade,
that 03-04 team won 8 in a row, and we're just killing teams. 30-point win, 2-point win, 8 points, 30. How many is that? 11, 20, 31. Nope, 29. Sorry, 13. They're smoking fools. So they win 8 in a row. They lose 1, win 4, lose 1, win 4, lose 2, win 4, lose 1, win 5.
Yeah, that was a good team.
Good little squad.
That's the team that realistically, after they lose the 2002 Western Conference Finals and get
Which
completely
they get it stolen.
Yeah, they get it. They completely jobbed in that series. But the next year is a year where they trade for Brad Miller because Chris Webber's going to be out long term, and we didn't know he needed microfracture surgery initially, but then he ends up being out almost the entire season. Comes back the final 23 games and just wasn't. He was a shell of himself at that point, and trying to get back. And the Kings tried to do him a solid by hoping that he could get back going. But the team that he came back to, they won a ton of games. Where they win like 64.
The
something
03
crazy.
14?
Yeah.
They went 55-27.
Oh, I thought they were better. The 03-04. Wow.
55-27.
Either way, they were a great team, and that's the team that you thought could have made like major waves, and they just weren't able to figure it out once Weber came back.
Man,
a long time ago.
They lost. You think you said it earlier? They lost to that same Timberwolves team in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's if I'm not mistaken. Is that the Anthony Pillar play where he gets tossed?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I was very small during this time.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we at? Milwaukee, Kings, Bucks. I got so deep into the Kings 8-game win streak there. Franchise Sacramento era record is 12. So they won 8 straight during the 99-2000 season. They won 12 straight during the 01-02 season. They won 11 straight during the 01-02 season. Wow, that's crazy. They had 12 and 11 game winning streaks in the 01-02 year. And then the 8-gamer in the 03-04 season. So we're bordering on unprecedented grounds for the last 2 decades.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting Doug Christie was on those teams.
Yeah. Don't know if it's a coincidence. Milwaukee, though, Kings' opponent tonight.
Yep.
They're now 20-17. They started 2-8.
Well, that's good.
They've gone 18-9 since their rough start. Would you take 18-9 for the Kings right now? After a rough start, you tell them, hey, with Doug Christie, you can go 18-9. They're already 7-1.
From right here, like to continue on? Oh, yeah. Especially with that 6-game road trip coming up. And
that'd put you at 31-27 through 58 games.
Okay.
And trending up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, at this point, you want to get greedy. You want to get greedy? Yeah. I
So
mean, you're
18, what is that? Hang on.
you're
real
2-0
quick.
on the road
That
trip.
makes you 11-8 in your next 19.
No, I wouldn't take that.
No, I think you can be better. I think you can be better than 18. I'm not taking the 18-9 through 27.
Okay.
But
I'd take 18-9 going forward to where you got to 10 games over 500.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I was trying to compare the turnarounds. The Kings have had this dramatic turnaround. Bucks had a dramatic turnaround. But Milwaukee playing better basketball now. No Chris Middleton tonight. We'll look at the injury report here in a second. Kings starters, we've got De'Aaron Fox, no Malik Monk, so Keon Ellis is going to start, presumably. DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis for the Bucks. And this is where I would like to ask you a question about them.
Okay.
Looking like Damian Lillard, Andre Jackson, Taurean Prince, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez is their starting five. Malik Monk out for the Kings. Chris Middleton is ruled out for the Bucks. Gary Trent Jr. with a hip injury, he is questionable. Ryan Rollins, Warriors legend, is questionable with an illness, and then Giannis, he has a knee thing, he's probable.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the Kings go about trying to deal with the size in the Bucks starting front court?
Okay, so here's kind of the crazy thing, because Taurean Prince isn't very big.
No.
So I'm okay with that matchup there, and I'm just gonna say, all right, DeMar, that's your guy, right? So Taurean Prince. Yeah, Taurean Prince is primarily a 3-point shooter. Just don't sag off of him. Giannis is trouble. But also, like Brook Lopez, he's so unique in the way that he hits the 3-ball. And the fact that you cannot stop him from shooting the 3-ball. I mean, at 7'2" or whatever he is, and he shoots the ball really, really high. He doesn't leave his feet when he does it, but I think that's one of those matchups you can kind of take advantage of. And it's also a matchup where, like, look, Sabonis is going to have another night where he could have 15, 18 rebounds. Mm-hmm. This is not a team that Giannis is a very good rebounder, but again, he's a guy who, position rebounds and crashes a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think Keegan Murray's up against it. He's going to face one of the most difficult players in the league to defend, and it's something that Keegan's used to. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, you cannot let him get ahead of steam. No. And then you've got to wall him off. So make him be a jump shooter, and that's one of the more difficult things to do. But he's just unique, man. It's almost like last season watching Zion just run over the Kings and get to the left side of the rim every single time. Giannis, like, you give him any space and he takes a long stride and you're completely shot.
Yeah.
So
there's certain things you're just not going to do about it.
Yeah. I do not want to. The one thing I don't want to see is DeMar DeRozan try to step in and draw a charge. He's done it twice in the last 3 games. Mm-hmm. At 35, first of all,
brother, let him have the basket.
I don't think he ever has taken a legitimate charge in his career.
Yeah.
But what he's done the last 2 times he's attempted it, mm-hmm. That's not how you draw a charge.
Yeah.
He just he gets in there and then he's like, oh, hands up, and falls back.
Yeah, you can't do that.
This isn't a trust fall situation, bro. You either got to take the charge or you got to get out of the way. And for me, get out of the way or get there early and make sure that a guy doesn't try to come in and run over you. If you do your work early, that would help the situation. But
I kind of wonder if it's one of those games where you just concede whatever points Giannis is going to score and just turn the faucets off everywhere else.
Well, that's what you have to do. You have to pick up Damian Lillard full court.
Yeah,
that's it. You've got to do not let him start getting hot from 35 feet out.
You can survive if Giannis has 50, if Dame has 17, and Taurean Prince has 3, and Brook Lopez has 6.
Yeah,
that's where that's kind of what I'm talking about. Just lock up everything else and Giannis, he's gonna get his. Mm-hmm. You start getting into trouble when you start, and we'll get into this with keys to the game, but when you start fouling him and
he's just so incredibly unique.
Tough,
yeah, it's just one of the most unique players the NBA has ever seen. And
when they come to Golden One, get out to the game. If you go to one game this year, go watch Giannis in person.
Oh yeah,
it is just different, dude. He's insane.
Yeah,
you don't get the scope of how tall
his legs are up here.
He is so massive.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Just moves like a point guard. I hate it.
It's absolutely crazy.
Giannis and Domas is my matchup of the game.
Okay. I would say, to be honest, Brook Lopez and Domas is going to be a good matchup because Brook Lopez doesn't move, and he's still a great shot blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those guys that Domas does struggle with if he tries to go inside.
Mm.
Like if Domas brings him outside and then gets him caught in actions like the
Sure.
a 2-man game or whatever, that's where you're really going to miss Monk in
Yeah.
this game.
For sure.
So that, and Domas needs to shoot the 3-ball just like Lopez will.
Yep, definitely. All right, James is there. I'm Kyle. The Kings looking to make it 8 wins in a row tonight against the Bucks in Milwaukee. They'll aim to close out a 3-0 road trip as well. We'll have keys to victory coming up here in a bit on ESPN 1320, Sacramento's sports leader. I thought the De'Aaron Fox trade stuff was going to go away when the Kings started winning.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still just kind of out there. And I want to get into I want to talk about the De'Aaron Fox trade stuff in a couple of different layers. And the first one is, why do you think this keeps coming up?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, I mean, clearly we're getting closer to the deadline. So a lot of websites like to do or a lot of shows like to do the whole, what's going to happen. Let's start predicting like who's available.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are just like right away going to say, well, De'Aaron Fox is probably available because his agent is Rich Paul and is going to push and try to get him out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything is going to happen right now. Like between now and February 6th, February 8th, even if De'Aaron Fox went to the Kings right now and said, hey, I want out now, I don't think it's going to happen. Because this summer there will be more available to trade, and he will still have a year left, and he will still be a max extension eligible player if he gets traded this summer.
Right.
So my first instinct is like there's a lot of noise, but there's a lot of noise because somebody wants to put a picture of De'Aaron Fox on the front of their like 5 trades that could go down this summer. They could go down between now and February 6th.
Right. He's the as a blogger. Let me tell you, if there's a player you think is going to get engagement for your website, you're going to include that player in headlines, in trades, in graphics, whatever you need to do.
Yep.
And when you start talking stars who are available, he's the only like all NBA level player, all-star level player who's not over 30.
Well, he's not 35.
Right. Who's not Jimmy Butler. Cam Johnson's almost 30, but Cam Johnson, not an all-star, not an all-NBA guy.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty rare that players as good as De'Aaron Fox might possibly be available. So when you're trying to write at an NBA website, you're not going to be like, Cam Johnson and Denny Avdia and just
even the
bunch
Kyle
of random
Kuzma stuff.
Kyle Kuzma, Robert Williams. Like, okay, those are names that might come up, but De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think you're right. I think that's part of the reason, because it was the Mike Brown stuff happens. They lose a bunch of games.
Yep.
De'Aaron Fox goes on a bunch of podcasts, or at least on one podcast. Rich Paul meets with the Kings.
Then they lost a bunch more games.
Yep. Then Mike Brown gets fired, and then it somehow gets into the ether that it's De'Aaron Fox's fault that Mike Brown got fired.
Even though it's not.
And right. And it looks like the sky is falling, and it was like, obviously they're going to move him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if they were 1-7 under Doug, maybe that'd be the case. Maybe he would say, like, I want out right now. I'm not wasting a full year here. I want out now. Maybe, but they're 7-1.
Even if he says that, though, it's still as a franchise, it's on you to do what's best for the franchise.
Yeah.
And what's best for the franchise. This is why, we always hear the rumors of like where he could go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the team that I'm going to keep centering all of my thoughts on is the Houston Rockets.
More on that in a bit. Go on.
Yeah, but that's the team. And the Houston Rockets, you get to this summer, they have more available than they have available today. Mm-hmm. So first of all, as soon as you get to July 1st, like if you wait until July 1st, now you have an extra draft pick. So now we're not talking about the 2025 through the 2031 draft. Now you're talking about the 32 draft as well. So every team gets that access to another draft pick. But more than that, a team like the Rockets extended a player like Jalen Green. And now I think you can trade him, But to trade him, it's so incredibly complex because he's a base year compensation player, which used to be a big thing that people talked about, and it's not anymore. So he's still playing out the final year of his rookie scale contract, but he's about to start a new contract, right? So you don't just get to trade for the cheap contract. You have to trade for a combination of the contract.
This was like when the Warriors traded Jordan Poole and
Yeah.
his extension hadn't kicked in yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what happened is you have to take back more than you send out, and then because the Kings are up against the luxury tax and they're hard capped at the first apron, you're not able to work a deal in which you could possibly bring him in. So look, I think that this summer there will be more discussions. Whether the Kings win or not is going to play a lot into this, and I think that's what the Kings are faced with right now. How do we win enough games so De'Aaron Fox doesn't ask out? How do we make this the place that he wants to sign the extension? And so far, they're doing it. They didn't do it through the first 31 games. And I'm not throwing shade at Mike. I don't put all the blame on this situation where the Kings are at right now on Mike. The fact that Doug stepped in and this team has taken a huge leap forward, it's a different voice in the room. It's a different, atmosphere. Like, certain players are playing better, certain players aren't. It is just like this happens. Like the dynamic changed, and it's worked out. But at the same time, that first 31 games, it got dark.
It was bad.
Yeah, and not only that, but it was dark through like the first 25, and then we start having these conversations of 23, 24 games in is when they start having the conversations with Rich Paul coming in and saying, "Hey, we need to get more talent here. What's going on?" And then the team just hits the skids. So, like, I'm not going to blame Rich Paul in that conversation for where the Kings went after that. But I'm also going to say, like, a lot was happening. A lot of negative was happening. The Kings needed to make a trade. Maybe Mike needed to be fired. And all of these things were happening at the same time. And at the end of the day, like, look, everything I've heard, De'Aaron Fox had nothing to do with anything that happened with Mike.
It wouldn't make sense.
No. He's always been a Mike guy, and he's always liked to be coached hard. But at the same time, it's the appearance of it, and it's the way that people who don't understand what's going on outside of Sacramento portray it. And so, like, look, if De'Aaron wants to start over and a reset button, I would understand it. I mean, you've been here 8 years and you haven't won. But I also look at this season and say, okay, why not here? Like, why is any situation guaranteed to be better than the one that's here?
Sure.
And it's a tough thing to deal with.
There's so much to this, but the other side of this is the King side. And I don't think anybody's in a rush. No team is in a rush to trade their best player.
No.
Even that's just not a thing that happens. Forget the on-court stuff. Forget the fact that just replacing De'Aaron Fox is hard. You can get into like what you said. Any trade that gets made has to benefit the team.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so you're just gonna make this trade. Let's the Kings facilitate this. It's not De'Aaron Fox. The Kings say, hey, we got a call, and the call. You're not just gonna give them away. You're gonna need to. It would need to be a deal. And we'll talk about what a deal might look like, but it would need to be a deal where if the Shams Charania tweet came up right now, Kings traded De'Aaron Fox, that we would have to go, oh my God, yes, you have to pull the trigger on that trade. That is a deal that has to be made because they just offered the moon, the sun, and the stars, and the next galaxy over. Don't even know what it's called. It's like, yeah, you know what that but that's not how trades work. So I when trying to get to the core of why it keeps coming up, I guess because it's going to linger as long as he doesn't sign an extension. But I also think that now that they're 7-1 in their last 8, and yeah, he was out for some of those games, but I think it to me cools that idea some, because now all of a sudden they are winning. Now all of a sudden the path doesn't seem like, dude, they need a dramatic trade. Now it looks like, hey, tossing a Cam Johnson into the mix here might actually help a lot. Where now you go from, okay, yeah, hey, maybe they make the playoffs to, hey, this is a really high quality top 5 seed, and they're going to be favored in the first round, and they're going to have a really tough second round series, or give a really tough second round series.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to keep coming up as long as he doesn't have his extension. But I think in reality, I would imagine anything that was actually percolating is probably not doing so anymore, given their success.
Yeah, and I would also like to clarify, people should know that the reason why, just it doesn't make any sense for De'Aaron Fox to sign an extension when there's potential for way more money if you're all NBA. If he has a great season, he's only missed 3 games on the season. If he has a great season and he's having a career year and the team wins, there is definitely potential. We already talked about it. All the guys that have already dropped off the all NBA roster who have already hit the threshold that they can't play 65 games.
Because remember, it's just 1 to 15 now. There's no positions.
Yeah, I mean, Luka Doncic is, if I'm not mistaken, is no longer eligible to be an All NBA player. Joel Embiid is not eligible to be an All NBA player. Paul George is like very much on the bubble about being an All NBA player. There are a lot of slots that are opening up because players just aren't going to get there. So again, the reason why he initially wasn't signing an extension partially was to say, hey, look, I want you to prove that we're going to be a winning organization. Yeah. We took a step back last year. We had a great season. We took a little bit of a step back, and I want to see where it goes. Then it didn't go very well at all. And so it becomes more and more of like, oh, he didn't sign the extension. Right. Well, at the end of the day, if he gets a Supermax, the Kings can pay him more than anyone else.
Right.
That's just it. That's it. That long in the end of that's the story.
That is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And so I would hope that that he at least gives them an opportunity here to show that this is where they should be heading, and this is a place he would like to stay. And I know that's weird to have a place like 8 years in that you're like, okay, I don't know if I want to stay there or not.
Sure,
but
it's been a weird 8 years.
It's just it's been it was a horrible first 6.
Sure.
So or first 5 years. It wasn't fun. Losing isn't fun.
Here's one thing I want to get to real quick. Does it here? This is the question we'll answer when we come back.
Okay.
Does it feel to you like he is on? How do I want to phrase this? Not he's on the outside of what's happening with the Kings, and maybe it's just because he was out for those couple of games. But I feel like I watched Malik Monk interact with Doug Christie, and I watched Domantas Sabonis interact with Doug Christie. And it feels like there's a different connection there than with De'Aaron. And I want to know if you feel that way too, or if it's just me being dramatic, which I'm fully open to. We'll talk about that next. But before we hit the break, I want to remind you that Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the NFL playoffs, the NBA season. They got all the sports for you with their pick'em game, which is super easy. You pick higher or lower on 2-player stats like passing touchdowns, rushing attempts, receiving yards. You know what statistics are. You can win up to 1,000 times your money when you do that. Tough night for your boy last night. I had a 3-player lineup. I had Anthony Edwards higher than 29.5 points. My guy Ant came through.
Okay.
On the Underdog app. 41 points he put up against the Wizards.
Nice.
Easy work. Jonas Valanciunas, though, did not come through. I had higher on 9.5 points. He finished with 8.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. Bad beat for me.
Yeah, especially with his track record against Gobert.
Yeah, he had a few 20-point games against Gobert, but different situation for him, for sure. And then I had Matthew Stafford higher than half an interception. He was dialed in last night, did not throw a pick. So I did not win my lineup last night, but I'm going to be back on the horse tonight with the Kings facing the Bucks. I believe that the Kings, when I checked the app earlier, were not in there yet because I think Underdog was waiting on Malik Monk.
Yep.
So because that dramatically changes who's doing what. So I'll be diving into that at one of these breaks here, and I'll have a lineup for you coming up in a bit. I'd love for you to play along with me because Underdog's the best place to play. Pick 'em. Download the Underdog app today. Sign up with promo code Kyle M and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Kyle M. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned to play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Is De'Aaron Fox on the outside looking in of what the Kings are doing right now? We'll tell you next on ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Hitter. We're nope, yep, no, we're clear. We're good. Okay.
Just to be honest with you guys, I know a lot of talk about this. If De'Aaron, it doesn't matter where De'Aaron goes. Like if they can offer supermax money, they're going to. Like the dude is 6th in the NBA in scoring. Like he's also a guy who led the league in steals last year and has been a very good defensive player. He's averaging like 6 assists and 5 rebounds. Like he's a player that teams would like and are going to pay. He's a top 15. And if he's not a top 15, he's a top 20 player in the league, and those guys get paid. I'm going to fill up my coffee, Kyle. I'll be right back.
Oh my goodness. That's done. Save this. Hi guys. Sorry, lots to edit today. How are we doing? That's kind of interesting. I don't know if the Lakers would want to do that. I mean, maybe they would. I don't know if that works financially. Give me one. Hang on. Can you look this up for Zach? If the dollars work on this?
Yeah, I'm almost positive it does. Worst case scenario, you'd have to throw in someone like Colby Jones. LA Lakers. Oh. Website I like to look at salary is not working that well today. I can't look here.
Okay, here we go. Hour number 2. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're rocking with you until noon. Then we will hand it off to D-Lo and KC. Would love to hear from you at the Elk Grove Kia Talk line. 916-909-1320. 916-909-1320 is the phone number. And we're talking some Kings Bucks, talking some NFL playoffs. We're talking about why does the De'Aaron Fox trade stuff keep lingering?
Mm-hmm.
They're 7-1. doesn't seem like a good spot to just trade your best player, especially given what you would very likely get back in said deal.
Yep.
One of the things I've kind of noticed, and again, I'm fully open to this being me being dramatic or reading a situation incorrectly. I'm curious to get your thoughts. It feels like since Doug Christie has been the coach, it feels like you see Domantas Sabonis looks like a different person, particularly like on the sideline. I see him putting his arm around Doug, and I think you've seen Malik Monk respond in a similar way. It just looks like he's playing. It just looks a little bit different. Like their vibe very, very much shifted with whatever message Doug is espousing. I don't know that I feel that same thing with De'Aaron. And is that just me? Or do you see the same thing?
Okay, so a couple of things. I think a little bit. It feels like De'Aaron, for whatever reason, it has been working a little bit to clear up and make sure that his name isn't caught up in the Mike Brown stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. To be honest, like they always had a good relationship. It didn't matter that, and again, a lot of the Mike Brown, De'Aaron Fox, like, is there a schism here between them? It related to the fact that Mike Brown went off in his final post-game presser about De'Aaron.
Yeah.
And, the mistake that he made and the loss to the Pistons.
It was a bad one, by the way.
It was. And I think everybody can look at that play and honestly take a step back and say, yeah, that was a bad play by De'Aaron and should not have fouled the shooter. He fell asleep on the play, whatever. Look, they cleared the air the next day. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't carry over and that people don't just instantly say, oh, that's why it happened. Now, the facts usually get in the way of a good story. And that's the way it's kind of been portrayed out there. Sure. So I would say that De'Aaron spent maybe too much of his thought process over the last couple of weeks worrying about that specific thing, like the appearance that he had anything to do with the Mike Brown thing. I mean, look, they went out to dinner. He went out to dinner with Mike Brown, and they took a picture outside of a restaurant with Mike Brown. That is, again, to show that, he's a Mike Brown guy. He was a Mike Brown guy from the beginning. They love the hire. I know that they love the hire. The fact that Mike Brown and Luke Laux is super close. Again, the Foxes love Luke Laux. Luke Laux was a player, a personnel. What is it? With the Warriors, he was a
player development
coach.
Okay.
One of his interns was Rasay Caldwell, who is now Rasay Caldwell Fox or Rasay Fox. That was they all know each other. This is part of the reason why, the relationship here looked like it was a match made in heaven. Right. So there is going to be a little bit of hey, I don't want to be labeled as a coach killer if you're De'Aaron Fox, especially if he had nothing to do with it. At the same time, it feels like whether it was that, him kind of dealing with that emotional, the fallout and the way that this has been portrayed incorrectly, that it was De'Aaron Fox's fault, which is totally incorrect.
Sure.
But then he gets hurt and he misses 3 games. And what it feels like to me, it's not that Fox is so much on the inside, on the outside looking in, as much as it is Fox he just showed up to the party 2 hours late and everybody's already 2 or 3 drinks in and he's not. And so there's going to be a point where he catches up. But until that point, he's looking around like at a bunch of craziness going on. And maybe I just want to sit on the couch for a little while and take this in.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so that's where I kind of look at Fox. He's already an introspective guy. He is an introvert. He's a guy who sits back and wants to feel out the situation already. But that's not to say him and Doug have known each other for 8 years.
Sure. It's not like Doug's new to the building.
Well, it's not. And not only that, but I will tell you, Doug has always been a guy who puts his arm around a guy like De'Aaron and has conversations, even when he was doing television and radio. Sure. He is a guy that was inside, working, at least having conversations with players. There's a point where he's on the team flying around because he's part of the broadcast team. He's had tons of conversations. De'Aaron Fox knows who Doug Christie is. And so, the change
he's watched some Doug Christie highlights. He's not doing the Keon Ellis.
No. he knows exactly, and you also De'Aaron is a basketball guy.
Sure.
Like, of all the guys in that locker room, I was very surprised to see Jordan McLaughlin is like a full on basketball. Like, you bring up some weird question and he pops off with the answer just from his locker. Like, he's not even
Incredible.
facing the
He's a
room.
big basketball guy, big
He's
hoop
just
head.
listening. Yeah, just like he knows the
Sick.
answer. You're like, oh, that was a good one. Like, but with Fox, I do think it's just a little bit of like, hey, everyone's rolling and everyone's having a great time, and you haven't been able to be part of it.
Mhm.
And the 3 games that he missed was the first 3 games. Like, who knows? The 3-game win streak happens all the time.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's some excitement, but the same way that everybody else looked at it, you beat the Mavs without
Kyrie and Luka and
Kyrie and
Clay,
Luka, and then you get to the next game, it's no Joel Embiid, and you start to look at these games, you're like, okay, we won, but is it for real?
Right.
Then he takes a big spill against Memphis, right? In the 3rd game of the win streak, and misses 3 games. And while that's happening, now they start winning legitimate games.
Cooking, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you start hearing all the love for Keon Ellis and all the love for Malik Monk. It's like, okay, I am still the best player on this team, right? But
which to the point of the vibe is like, it feels like but I think you hit the nail on the head. Showed up 2 hours late, everybody's drunk, and he's got to figure out like, okay, hang on. First of all, everybody slow down. I have to work tomorrow. Let me figure out what I'm doing here. I got to grab something to eat, whatever. He still led the team in scoring against Chicago. Went 4 of 8 from 3, 9 of 16 from the field. Had a really good game. And that's where is the Fox and Monk and DeRozan thing a little redundant at times? Yeah, maybe. But he's the best player on the team, and I think that's something that can get a little bit lost, especially that when they kept winning when he was out. But they're just a different level of good when he is on the floor and playing well. There's not another player who can reach the heights that he can reach. And I think when we talk about trades, when we talk about, does he fit in? Like, yeah, of course he does, because everybody's looking to him. Like, Malik Monk knows Malik Monk is good. DeMar DeRozan knows DeMar DeRozan is good. Domantas Sabonis knows Domantas Sabonis is good. Keegan Murray may or may not know Keegan Murray is good. We're still TBD. But everybody on that floor is looking at number 5.
Yep.
At all times. So whether he's actively seeking out Doug Christie to dap him up before the game or after the game or whatever, I don't know. I don't know how much it matters. Like I said, for me, the vibe is definitely like odd, but the way you explained it is definitely what I was gathering. And then you look at his performance and you just look at what he means to the Kings in general. It's just, I think the reason it's dramatic is because he's good. Is because he's such a good player.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I'm so not skittish isn't the right word, but why I'm so concerned and just kind of obsessed with this whole like De'Aaron Fox trade stuff, and he was involved in the Mike Brown thing allegedly, but he actually wasn't. I think the reason it all jumps out to me and is such a big red flag is because, like, your ceiling comes down significantly if you just remove De'Aaron Fox from the equation.
Oh, I agree 100%.
You get into a playoff game, and we night in, night out right now, because again, I'm going to do something different here. Maybe this is a mistake by me. And if the Kings lose tonight and lose their next 4, you can blame me. I'll wear it right now.
Okay.
I know night in and night out, we talk, DeMar DeRozan closing, is Malik Monk, is he the lead guard, and De'Aaron, and when he comes back, what does it all look like? And we talk about what is the closing lineup and how do you fit Keon in, and we're talking about all this. Come playoff time, because I'm going to start viewing everything with the Kings as through the lens of what's it look like in the playoffs. I'm back there. A, because the Kings are playing well, but B, because nobody in the West in front of them impresses me greatly. So for right now, everything I'm going to do is view through the lens of what does this look like in the playoffs. And in the postseason, when the rotations get short and the games get a little more physical and that lemon booty sets in, that everybody's going to follow number 5. Everybody's following De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is going to be the unquestioned 1A of the Kings when they get into a postseason situation.
He was the best player on the court against the championship Warriors in their 7-game series. He was the best player on the court until he broke his fingertip.
Yep.
Just straight up. Best player on the court.
Yep.
And I mean, that's with Steph and Clay and Draymond and Demonis and whoever else you want to throw in that mix. He was the best player. Like that's the thing. I like what you want to do here is try to figure out how to put it all together and keep everyone together so you can have not just success this season, but success over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
The goal should be here to keep Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, and De'Aaron Fox together as long as humanly possible. And did you take a step back? You took a step back. And did you have a bad start to the season? Yes. All of that happened. Yeah. So, but at the same time, there isn't a panic that I've ever felt from the Kings when it comes to Fox. They always feel like they can fix it with Fox. And maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're way off base. But that certainly feels like the vibe around them. And they certainly aren't going to be forced into making some deal between now and the trade deadline. And the other thing is, if you take De'Aaron Fox off this team, the Kings aren't just folding up shop and taking a bunch of first-round picks. That's not what they're looking for. No. If you're going to get De'Aaron Fox off this team, it is going to hurt. Whatever team is getting him
is getting ostensibly fleeced.
They are going to feel the pain of getting a superstar level player. That's it. And if you think he's going somewhere and you're going to get an expiring contract of this guy and a couple of first-round picks, you're wrong. That's not what's going to happen because the Kings have no interest in taking that step backwards. They want to take more. If they're making that trade, they're making that trade to break up one player into 3. And one of those 3 has superstar potential and one of them has all-star potential. And another one of them is going to be in the rotation for the next 5 years.
And there's going to be picks.
And there's going to be a pick or 2.
At the lowest form of that is assets that the Kings can then use to flip for more players.
Yeah, totally. And then I'll also say this, like I keep hearing this, oh, Fox and Monk are redundant. They're redundant. Like, come on now. Like, does anyone realize who made it to the
I literally just said that, but go on.
Well, I get it though, but the Dallas Mavericks made it all the way to the NBA Finals, right? So if you don't think that Luka and Kyrie are redundant, they both want the ball in their hands the entire time. They both are the playmakers, right? And so I'm not like heaping on you about that comment, but the fact is Malik Monk missed 7 games already. He's missing a game tonight. He could miss the game on Thursday or Friday. De'Aaron Fox will miss games. Like they're redundant until they're not, until you need both of them in a game.
And redundant has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
If it's too good, like having good players is a good thing. Like I don't see they are they do similar things, but also let me get off of this for a second because I'm talking myself in circles. De'Aaron Fox is also way better than Malik Monk. Malik's a really awesome player. He's super important. I don't know how they're going to respond without him tonight. Like I am a Malik Monk guy. I am in the Malik Monk is their most important player camp. I am there. But when you're talking about redundance, like, no, it's not. Like Kyrie Irving and Luka are redundant. Well, no, but Luka's a better player. Like Luka is a better. De'Aaron's a better player. Like so that's where it's like, yeah, they're redundant, but also I don't have any question if I have the game on the line and I need one guy with the ball in his hands, I know exactly who it is, and it's De'Aaron.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also going to point out there's a play that happened in the win against Chicago, right? Malik Monk, who wants to average as many points as possible. He, like, his entire life has been a scorer, right? Late in the game, he gets out on a break. He's sitting at 18 points. He got stuck at 18 points for the whole, like, most of the second half. Instead of going in and scoring a bucket, he flipped the ball up in the air and hit his buddy De'Aaron Fox for a dunk.
Yep.
If there is no like animosity, There is no, this is mine, this is mine. Two guys fighting it out for the lead guard spot. These are two dudes who went to college together and who love playing together and love each other as friends and would love to see this thing succeed together.
Yep.
That's been the way it has, like, for the last 3 years. And it's something that, in all honesty, they would love to see this thing play out. But if you're De'Aaron Fox, your buddy just got paid, and Malik Monk wants him to get paid too. And Malik Monk getting paid $17.4 million was the most the Kings could pay. That's not the most that De'Aaron Fox can get paid, and Malik knows that as well. And he wants his buddy to go wherever it is he's going to make the most money and where he's going to find success and all that. Does he want it to be with him in Sacramento? Heck yeah, he does. But if it's not, he understands this is the business aspect of the game. And De'Aaron has got to a point where he's a face of a shoe company. He's got his own shoe. He's got all these things, but he can't make an all-star team when he's 8th in the league in scoring, and the top 19 guys, he's the only one who doesn't make the all-star team. He's 6th in the league in scoring right now. No one expects De'Aaron Fox to just be an automatic all-star bid. No one. If you think that he's like locked down, he's making the all-star team, he's 6th in the league in scoring. Every other player around him, the 10 guys below him in the standings, in the scoring leader, they're all going to make it, but he's not. And that's where you get to this point, like, hey, I want all these things, and I want to be remembered as this and this. Well, it's tough to be a Hall of Famer if you don't make all-star teams, just straight up. And it's tough to make all-star teams when you're in Sacramento. Mitch Richmond is the only one who consistently did it. The only one. Like, went to like 8
that's
straight.
Because he had established himself before coming to Sacramento.
Well, that, and he also had Michael Jordan telling everybody in the world that he's the second best shooting guard in the league. He had that going for him, and Mitch was a great player, but at the same time, that's the only, and that happened in the 90s. Like, we're talking 30 years ago this happened. So it's really tough if you're a De'Aaron Fox to say, hey, this is, I want my career to end like this, and this. I want to reach this plateau. I want to make this many All-Star games. I want to be a Hall of Famer. All of these things, you have to say, hey, is Sacramento the vehicle that can get me there? And the honest answer is maybe. Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, and Mitch Richmond have all made the Hall of Fame as Sacramento Kings.
And that's why winning is so important. Yeah, because you get there by going to the play. Like, I know everybody hates this discussion point, but this is not me or my opinion. This is just a fact of life. If you want to get to that level where you are certified, stamped, that guy's going to be an all-star this year. As long as he's healthy and not having a catastrophic year, that guy's just going to be an all-star. You have to either be like an MVP, or you have to go to the playoffs and you have to win there. That's it. Like, that's
or you have to play for the Lakers or the Knicks,
right? Or be in a huge market.
I mean, let's just be honest. If De'Aaron Fox plays for the Knicks, he's a 4-time All-Star already. He's a 4-time All-Star already.
Yep.
Like, end of discussion. And I mean, that's just like a hard pill. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, but that's why. But you see when the Fox trade speculation first comes out, everybody's like Miami, LA, New York.
Oh yeah.
Like, all right, man.
And then all of a sudden San Antonio sneaks in there and San Antonio doesn't have that. Okay, go play with Victor Wembanyama. Okay, I get it, but San Antonio doesn't have anyone that.
That's the classic. That's the San Antonio thing. So I saw this thing from Bleacher Report. That was Houston gets De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter, and the Kings get Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, a top 5 protected 2025 first from Houston, and an unprotected 2027 first from Phoenix. First of all, just on the surface, no. But that's at least like, okay, we can, if I wanted to sit here and play devil's advocate on why that is the deal, you can. Because then you can, Van Vliet's an expiring, and it's a bunch of expiring money that could be valuable. Reed Shepherd is a first round pick who tore it up in the summer league, went down to the G League and scored like 49 points in his one G League game, and then they brought him back. That's a valuable asset that you could move. That 2027 Phoenix unprotected first could be the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
in 2027, depending on how things shake out there. So like, you see where they can then flip that for something bigger. Like, okay, at least with San Antonio, And again, not saying I would do that Rockets trade, but like I see the vision if I wanted to play
Yeah.
devil's advocate. You talk about San Antonio?
You're going to trade in that deal. If you were to go trade to San Antonio, you're going to get picks, but you're also going to get a bunch of guys who are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 man in your rotation.
A bunch of guys that the Spurs just don't want anymore. It's not like they're full of like these. It's just a bunch of just okay players.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch the Spurs, that's what I see. It's Victor Wembanyama, it's Chris Paul, who's just okay at this point, and then Harrison Barnes and co.
Yeah, I mean, like Devin Vassell's a perfectly nice player, but at 15.6 points per game. Keldon Johnson? Hey, I would love Keldon Johnson in the same way that you'd love Cam Johnson.
Sure, if you want to do that in a Kevin Huerter swap, all right, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the problem. And people are, Stephon Castle. It's like, no.
If you're a rebuilding team, sure. And you want to try and build around Stephon Castle and you want to take that swing, fine. But you're trying to plug him into what the Kings are doing? I'm out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, let's just back it up. Like, we see what Castle is on the court, and it's like, okay, he was the 4th pick in a horrendous draft. You would never have traded De'Aaron Fox with the package that they have for the 4th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. You wouldn't do it.
Nope.
Like, no one. Everyone's going to be like, nope, I'm good.
Nope.
No, I'll pass on that.
Yeah, that's the other thing with all this is like I have yet to see a deal.
No.
That I've been like, oh, wow. Like, man, if that's on the table, you got it. Like, he's too good, man. He is an all-NBA caliber player.
Mm-hmm.
There are, follow me here, all-NBA caliber. I know there's 15 all-NBA spots, but all-NBA caliber guys, there's what, 20 of them in the league?
Yeah.
25 generously?
Yep. I'll give you that, 25 generously.
There's not that many things that make sense. So I know we're going to keep seeing it because of what we talked about. It's a searchable name. It's going to get hits on Twitter and Google, and you're going to keep seeing it. I don't buy the idea that as long as the Kings are winning,
mm-hmm.
and as long as De'Aaron Fox is playing well, which he very much played well in his return against Chicago, I expect him to play well again tonight with Malik Monk out against Milwaukee. I don't think there's any concern for me that he's going to ask out, and I certainly don't think the Kings are interested in moving him.
No, and this is just for sake of argument, and so people understand this.
Mm-hmm.
September 3rd, 2022, traded Donovan Mitchell was traded by the Utah Jazz to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Abaji, Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, a 2025 first, a 2026 first, a 2027 first, a 2028 first, a 2029 first.
Oh my God.
Cleveland also has the right to pick swap in 26, pick swap in 27, their own
Cleveland
28.
has the pick swap rights?
No.
Utah.
Let's see. Yes.
Got it.
That's what
yes
you're getting for mm-hmm. De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting the expiring contract of Fred VanVleet. That's not happening.
Not unless again, I just because we're on the top. Unless the Kings know we have this other awesome deal ready, we just need that Fred VanVleet contract to be able to move.
Yeah.
Then sure. But again, on just in a vacuum, the De'Aaron Fox trade stuff I'm just kind of out on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, as long as the Kings are winning and as long as he's playing well and as long as he's on track to make an all-NBA team, and if he does, I would assume he signs an extension ASAP.
Well, that's the hope.
I guess.
The hope is that you keep this thing rolling and that he feels, he gets the extra couple of drinks in him so he's mm-hmm. part of the party now,
mm-hmm.
and you just start rolling.
Yep.
I mean, and until that proves to not be the case, I'm not even I'm hanging up the phone on teams.
Yep. Hopefully I start rolling tonight on Underdog because with Underdog's pick'em game, I'm going to be playing. It's my favorite way to watch sports. I'm going to have a lineup. I got a 3-player lineup right now. I haven't gotten to dive in because the Kings were not in the Underdog app yet because of the Malik Monk injury question this morning when I made my lineup. So mm-hmm. This is the lineup I'm rocking with tonight. Given my recent run of losses on the Underdog app, I would I would recommend you fade me on these. But if you wanna tell me, I'd love for you to play along. Download the Underdog app, sign up with promo code Kyle M and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Kyle M. All right, Giannis Antetokounmpo is in my lineup tonight. I'm going lower than 51.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That's just so many. Maybe he does. Maybe he goes 30, 10, and 12 and whatever. But I'm going lower than 51.5 on Giannis points, rebounds, and assists against the Kings. Andrew Nembhard, I'm going higher than 2.5 points in the first quarter. Tyrese Halliburton dealing with a hamstring thing. He's not going to be playing in that game against Cleveland. So I'm going Andrew Nembhard higher than 2.5 points in the first quarter against Cleveland. And then in that same game, I'm going Jared Allen higher than half a double-double. I think Jared Allen's going to go in and get a double-double against the Indiana Pacers, and he might do so easily.
That's your new play. I like that. It's like
I just rock with Jared Allen.
Murray dunk.
Yeah, it was always there. Always there. So I'm rocking with Jared Allen, Andrew Nembhard, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're in my lineup tonight. Again, you can tail me, you can fade me, whatever you want to do. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. 49ers defensive coordinator update coming up, and keys to a Kings victory tonight in Milwaukee, right here on the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center.
Okay, so for clarification, so people know, in the Donovan Mitchell trade, the 2025 was Cleveland's own. The 2026 is a pick swap. 2027 is Cleveland's own. 2028 is a pick swap, and the 2029 is Cleveland's own. And I know someone said Lauri Markkanen wasn't Lauri Markkanen when that trade happened. I agree, but Colin Sexton was way better than what he's been before that trade as well.
Yeah, they like switched.
Yeah.
What up, Charlie?
Medulla oblongata.
There goes Charlie.
My man. Thanks.
Sweet.
I like the Buffalo Bills team name because I like to imagine it's just a bunch of dudes named Bill.
That's funny. I never thought of that. I like the Stephon Castle thing. I've watched Stephon Castle play. I don't get it. Like, perfectly fine young player, but like I don't see him as a like there are shades of Maxey, especially as a defensive player, but like I don't know that I buy the rest of it. I don't think he has any of the offensive potential. So maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm way off, but again, this was a not a good draft. We all talked about it, and it's proven to not be a good draft where like the rookie ladder is Messi. Is
Eve Messi having a good year.
Yeah, see, Leezy, this is I'm not doing anything until he's available. And even that, like, he's a little rough. Like, you're hoping but there's still potential for him to be a star. Messi was the 21st pick in the draft. Yeah, George Muller, you could definitely get win now players from Orlando. But who are they going to give up? Like
that's it. Like,
yeah, you're not getting Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs and
right.
3 first-round picks.
Yeah. Like, I don't disagree that there are win now players on Orlando that would help Sacramento, but they're trying to get De'Aaron Fox to pair with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I just
Yeah, NBA Zach Guru Zach, there's no way Christian Braun, MPJ, and Peyton Watson is even remotely in the ballpark for a trade. MPJ is hitting an age where his 3 back surgeries before 21 are going to start becoming an issue. Yeah. The idea of Michael Porter Jr. and the reality of Michael Porter Jr. And like maybe he holds up. He played 81 games last year. He's played 38 this year. But no.
Oh, hey, we have a show to do. Kings Bucks tonight. Sacramento looking to close out a perfect 3-0 road trip. Man,
I'm here for it.
Man, that's a tough road trip too. Boston, Chicago, Milwaukee. Trying to win 8 in a row for the first time since 2003.
Yeah, I thought that there was no way that they would go 2-1 on this trip. I looked at I'm like, 2-1 is gonna be really difficult. They've already got the 2, so if they can win this, get greedy for sure. But this is gravy right here.
Yeah, Milwaukee playing better, but not a team that looks nigh unbeatable or anything like that. But I will say, this is also not a Milwaukee team, I think, that's just going to like toss their jerseys on the court, because they're still trying to climb back up in the East. They're still trying to dig out of their early season hole as well. So it should be a good game. Let's get to our keys to victory. 3 from James, 3 from me. The Kings do these things. They will win tonight in Milwaukee. James Ham, number
1. Send someone to pick up Damian Lillard full court. And that someone is Keon Ellis. He'll start tonight for Malik Monk, and that's where I'm going. Hey Keon, do not let go of him. Like keep your hands off him. Don't get fouled. Don't get a foul call, but do not leave him at all. And if you can do that, then you can take away one of their 2 scoring options, because that's all they really have at this point.
Man, and that's what the one issue I have with that is Dame will pick up fouls. So there has to be, I wouldn't mind, pick him up full court here and there, but also just, if you're not going to do that, the second he crosses the timeline, you got to have a body on him.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. Dame is not what he used to be on a night in, night out basis, but he's still Dame.
Yep.
He's still very capable of just single-handedly beating. He did it last year.
Yeah, he can drop 35 on you.
Yeah. Or hit a game winner from half court. Number 1 for me, deflections. Kings have been very good at this with in the Doug Christie era. And one way to defend Giannis is just to get your hands in the passing lanes. If he's not bringing the ball up, just try and make sure that the ball doesn't get to him, or that he doesn't catch it cleanly. That's going to continue to be a big one. Got to get your hands on basketball.
Yeah, I totally agree. And defending Giannis is so incredibly difficult, especially if you give him any space. He just starts running at you, and every stride he takes is like 12 feet. You're ridiculous. Like, that is the craziest thing to watch. I mean, he can dunk from half court, and I think it's like 4 steps.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's one of the wild. So if you give him space, he's just gonna kill you.
Yep.
And so I'm intrigued to see what happens.
Number 2.
Number 2 for me, don't play their game. The Bucks don't move the ball. They are one of the worst teams in the league in assists. The game gets sticky, And especially with Chris Middleton out. Chris Middleton is a guy who, over the last couple of years, 6 assists per game. And if I'm the Kings, I want to play my fluid, fun, run up and down the court game. Don't get caught in some weird, slow down, sticky, like gross game with the Bucks. Just get out and run and do your thing and move the ball and stop worrying about who they have defending who and just go at the basket and get your open threes and hit your open threes. And you should have, I mean, not no problem beating this team, but you should have no problem competing in this game.
Yeah, if you move the basketball against Milwaukee, they don't have a bunch of like lockdown defenders.
No, Drew Holiday's gone.
Yeah, they defensively, this is not a great outfit. They're better than they've been, especially early in the year. Looking at Basketball Reference has them at 11th in defensive rating, but a lot of that is just Giannis and Brook Lopez being massive in the paint. If you can just move the basketball, you're going to find some advantageous matchups because there are not a ton of good defenders up and down this roster. Move the basketball, force them to get into rotations, and that's going to get you some open shots. I have more on that in a bit. Number 2 for me. Yeah, this goes along with the kind of grimy, gritty game. When Giannis does the thing you're talking about, where he either brings the ball up the floor with a head of steam or gets around a screen and gets going downhill, don't ticky-tack foul him. Let him, he's going to score. Like that's what, if he gets going down the lane, all right, get out of the way. Let him have the 2 points, take the ball out of the basket and move. What you don't want is sliding in late to try and take a charge or that just touch foul on the wrist because he's just going to power up through that and score anyway. And then he's going to the free throw line and then the game's slowing down. You just if he gets that head of steam going that you're talking about, hands off, he's going to score. And I know that's counterintuitive. I know you want to defend, and I know that you're going to get some reach-in fouls and whatnot. They're NBA players. I get it. But limit those little ticky-tack touch fouls and keep the pace going.
Yeah, because if you're the Kings, you've got Keegan Murray and you've got Trey Lyles, and that's about it that you can go push that way. After that, like, where are you going to go? Are you going to maybe Jay Crowder? You dust off Jay Crowder and throw him out there? I don't know. He played with those guys.
Just to pick up fouls, maybe.
Maybe. But that's where you're kind of at. Like, how do you defend a guy like that? And you have to stay in the game. Definitely.
Yeah, that's big time. Number 3?
Yeah.
Number 3? Number 3 for you.
If a rando beats you, a rando beats you.
Yep.
Like, just straight up. If they have some guy go crazy, if it's Andre Jackson Jr. or if it's DeLon Wright coming off the bench or Pat Connaughton, like whatever. What I don't want to see is for Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo to just go crazy and just blow you out of the water, just 2 of them. If those 2 combined for 80 points, you're going to have a tough time winning. So figure out a way to at least slow those guys down a little bit, make them inefficient players, make Giannis shoot threes, make Dame not shoot threes and beat you off the dribble. Like whatever you have to do, like try, if a rando beats you, okay.
Is Andre Jackson the guy who did the dunk against the Kings last year at Golden One when the Kings blew him out?
Probably.
And Kevin Huerter like reacted on the bench.
Yes.
He's like, what? He's from New York or whatever he said.
It's very possible that's who that was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Andre Jackson can jump out of the gym.
Yeah.
I'm 98% sure it's him.
Yeah, he's from Amsterdam, New York.
Yeah.
So UConn. Kid.
Yeah, he was like, he's from upstate.
Yeah.
Whatever he said. All right, what are we on? I'm with you. And if this is a game where Giannis is going to go score 50, then he scores 50.
Yep.
You just can't let Dame also score 30.
Yep.
Right? And Brook Lopez has 18.
Yeah.
That's where you start getting.
Yep.
So, number 3 for me. Did I already hit the ding?
You did.
All right. Yeah. Number 3 for me. And this is something we talked about a little bit ago. I need De'Aaron Fox to hit the gas. I need DeMar DeRozan to hit the gas. You're going to be able to touch the paint. And when you touch the paint and you get the Bucks into rotation, they're going to mess something up.
Yep.
Touch the paint, sprays. We talk about this all the time. It's like the buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be opportunities to do that, especially like, dude, if Dame is ever guarding De'Aaron Fox should get to within 10 feet of the basket immediately.
Just cook him.
Yep.
Just
easy
cook him.
work. And if there's a pull up there, if it's a kick out, whatever it is,
Yep.
that's going to be the move. Because Dame is a worse defender now than he ever has been. So,
Totally.
that's where the Milwaukee Bucks stand. Did the Kings make it 8 games in a row, James?
I say yes.
I'm going to. Do we know the line yet? Do you know the line
Kyle wants to say no. Kyle wants to say no.
I'm trying to be realistic.
He doesn't believe in the beam team.
That's not true. That's not
he
true.
Doesn't
that's
believe
patently
in Doug
false.
Christie.
This is false. What you're saying is not right. But let's see. Milwaukee favored by 2.5. Kings are winning tonight. If we get a big De'Aaron Fox game, I think the Kings make it 8 in a row. Their first 8-game winning streak since the 2003-2004 season. That's wild. Can't wait to break it all down right here on ESPN 1320, 10 a.m. The Insiders. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen.
That's us.
10 a.m. Wednesday. We'll be here talking Kings Bucks on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Now it's time for the handoff. Kenny Caraway in the building. We're probably going to get an echo. Did somebody mute Kenny? There we go.
I got
let's get. There we go. What's up, Kenny? How we doing, man?
What's going on? What's going on?
Kenny
fellas?
Caraway in the building.
How you guys doing? He doesn't believe in the Rabin team.
What are you talking? Just pick them to win.
Rabeam team. I
Just
love
pick them
this.
to win.
Put it
That-
on a shirt.
That Cubs and Kings mirrored logo. Okay.
I went with
I'm
the
here
hoodie.
for it.
I went with the hoodie. You know, I had to get the Cubs hat to match. You know what I mean? So
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's a really good hat.
it's a
The
good
Cubs
hat.
hat's underrated.
It is a good hat.
Just,
It does-
the two Chicago teams have good hats.
They do. It's not as iconic as you would think it is for being a Chicago team.
Yeah.
The Cubs have been around for a trillion
I
years.
feel like it's underrated.
Yeah, it's like is it top 10?
And
I
I
don't know.
think-
I don't know if it's
Oh,
top 10.
top 10. We could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
I don't know where we'd
MLB,
put it, but
MLB hats.
yeah,
Iconic MLB hats.
I also I think the Cubs are the first series against the A's at Sutter Health.
They are.
Yeah.
March, the end of March.
It's gonna be crazy.
It is gonna
It's
be
gonna be
crazy.
wild.
It's
I
gonna
don't
be
even know
crazy.
where they're gonna hide all the media.
We're gonna sit on the lawn.
Just sit out there on the grass,
Mhm.
the grassy knoll.
can't wait.
The grass.
It's the best. I don't know if you ever watched a baseball game sitting on a grass hill. I used to do that a lot when I lived down in Arizona.
Yeah.
lot of
You get
spring
into
training stuff,
get into a spring training game. It was like $12 to get in the door.
Yeah.
You just go sit on the lawn. Oh, it's the
Mhm.
best.
Yeah, I've never done it before.
Oh man,
I'll do
you
it-
have to.
I'll do it now though. With the,
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Get
always
out there, you
talk
gotta
about-
get a little blanket down. Kids can go run around. Oh, it's the best.
I always would talk about I want to go to spring training, but they've kind of made it unenjoyable, unaffordable. Like they be charging like regular season prices
Yeah.
for these spring. I'm like, come on,
It
man.
became like
I'm
a
gonna go
fad to go to. That was the year I was leaving. The year I left Arizona, because literally when I first moved down there, spring of 2014 was the first spring training I got to experience,
Mhm.
and it was definitely like, it's like I think to get into Hohokam where the A's played, I think it was like $10 was the cheapest ticket.
Mm.
And by the time we left, yeah, it was like regular season price. You're paying $20+ to get in the door to a spring training game.
Yeah.
Like no chance.
See
The
the
reason-
split squad A's.
Yeah, no, I don't, and that's not like I it's professional baseball or whatever. But I'm sorry, I'm not paying $20 plus beer prices. It's not like cheap.
Mhm.
It's and it just by the
One-
7th inning, everyone's gone.
Yeah. One
No,
day,
it's-
I'll
And
get
it's
it.
hot.
One day.
A little warm. It'll be a little warm. We should go. That'd be a fun. That'd be a fun group trip. Little family
I would do
trip.
that. I would do that.
Yeah, one day. I got to go to summer league first.
The move with spring training is you have to you can't go you have to have other stuff like on the side.
Mm.
Like find some good restaurants to go to, maybe find something else to do down in Arizona.
Shouldn't be too hard with. Well, the Giants are in Tucson.
Suns will probably be playing. There's a bunch of different
Scottsdale.
spring training spots you can go to. Yeah, there's just you can go to Mill Ave if you want to get weird down at the. We would be the oldest people on Mill Ave by
Mill Ave.
what?
I feel like I need to go to Mill Ave. See, when I say I want to go to these, I just want to go and
Just
people
experience it.
watch. I
Yeah,
just
that's
wanna
it.
watch
That's
people.
it. Yeah,
Just watch weird stuff go down.
yeah, Mill Ave is the place to be for
Mm.
sure. But yeah, you got to. It can't just be like, I'm going to go to a baseball game and then go back to my hotel. Like, no, you're going to
That's
go to a
not even
baseball
how
game.
That's not how I do things.
You're going to go
I'll
to a
be
baseball
outside.
game, then go to dinner, and then go bar hopping after.
Yeah, I'll be outside.
There
If
used
I'm
to be
out of
this.
town, I'm outside.
There used to be this taco spot in Scottsdale that we would go to. It was literally like the counter was built into the wall, and it was just a half window that rolled up.
Uh-huh.
And you walk up, and you went, I want this many chicken, and I want this many steak.
Mm.
And it was like $2 a taco, and you give them the money, and they hand you your tacos, and then all the toppings and stuff were off to the side.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best tacos I've ever had in my life.
Sounds great.
Yeah, shout out to Arizona, man. A little bit
I gotta
underrated.
get out
spot.
to AZ, man. I gotta get out there. I never been to Arizona.
Yeah, we should go. We should go to spring training.
All right.
What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do?
I mean,
The Kings winning tonight?
Kings-
They make it 8 in a row?
I mean, I'm not gonna get on these airwaves and say they're gonna lose.
It's kind of wild that they haven't won 8 in a row since 2003.
That's a long time. My
Like
goodness.
8,
Yeah.
I know 8's a lot of it's not an insignificant winning streak, 8 games. But like not one time since then did they win 4 in a row and then catch the Heat without their top 3 guys and
How long
get a hot shooting night from someone else.
the 7-game winning streak? How many times have they done that? It's just twice since then, huh?
Well, I know they did it 2 years ago. They had a 7-game win streak, but
Let me
I don't
check.
remember the last time outside of that.
Stand
I
by.
can tell you, I remember a bunch of 8-game losing streaks.
I remember
Boy.
2 9-game losing streaks in 1 year.
I
where
remember
they finished like 2 games out of the play-in.
one season they had an 8-game losing streak. They beat Washington the night that John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins played against each other for the first time, but John Wall got hurt in pregame, and so his rookie season. And then after that game, they beat Washington that night. They lost 7 straight, so 15 out of 16.
Wow, goodness gracious!
That was tough to cover.
Okay, the Kings last. Why did these all happen in November? This is not okay.
They sneak up on people.
I'm gonna dork out over Kings winning streaks here for a second. Bear with me. So their last 7-game win streak was the Beam Team won, the 22-23 season. They won 7 in a row from November 9th to November 22nd.
Okay.
The last one before that was the 04-05 season.
Ooh.
7 games.
Oh,
November 13th to November 26th. The last one before that was their last 8-game win streak, which was November 14th through November 30th.
Wow.
that's when you're really good coming out of the gate for an NBA team, and you just like by the time you get to the end of December, everyone already knows you're one of the top 3 seeds. That's a really good place to be.
Yep.
And that's, you have teams now that try to keep winning, and that's a bad idea. But like Cleveland's already locked up a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Whatever happens from here on out, like,
Hey, speaking of it, they lost to the Pacers on Sunday. The Pacers were kind of cooking.
Pacers 6 in a row.
13-4 in their last 17.
Yeah, they won 6 in a row. They're doing good. I heard Halliburton got hurt.
Yeah, he's out.
So
Got a hamstring.
hopefully he gets well soon.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you could tell what, let's say from when they win 7 straight in 04, you said?
November 13th to the 26th. Yeah.
Is there a way to see what the longest win streak was in between 04 and Beam Team 1?
So from 04 to 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me drop this down to 6.
I don't think it's 6. I'll tell you, I don't think it's 6. I'm going to say 5. They might have done that once.
So they did 6.
What?
In the 04. Nope. That's still the 04-05 season. Hang on. Jesus. That was January. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. January 11 to 20th of 05. All right, so 5 in a row. So we're looking for between the 04-05 season and the 22-23 season. Here we go. All right, we got 5 a bunch of times in here.
Okay. Yeah. I was right.
Another.
I said they didn't have no 6.
They had a 5 in 05-06. Good Lord. 06-07 they had 5. 2014 they had 5. The 14-15, 15-16.
We're losing our minds.
Bunch of 5 gamers in there.
Yeah.
No 6s.
6 games is a lot. Complacency sets in.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were talking a lot.
Tonight.
We were talking earlier about
They're doing what?
They're going to
thoughts.
win 8 in a row tonight.
Oh, okay. When was the last time they won 9 in a row?
I don't like my boy Malik not being
They
here.
have never won 9 in a row.
What?
Stand by.
Oh man.
Let me see.
We were talking about De'Aaron.
They have.
like
Oh,
4
I'm sorry.
episodes in.
I'm sorry. Let me real quick. The last time the Kings won at least 9 in a row was
0102.
yes, the end of the 0102 season. They won 11 in a row.
Mm.
Early in the 0102 season, they won 12 in a row.
Yeah, that's right.
God.
That's a 61 win.
The only
Yeah,
time
that's
in
a-
franchise history they won 9 in a row exactly. The 1949-1950 season.
Well,
Everybody remembers that
shout
Rochester
out
Royals
to
squad.
what's his name?
Royale.
Royale and what's the guy that had all the
Bobby
records?
Wanzer and
Was it
Jack
it's not
Twyman?
Twyman.
Maybe
Twyman, yeah.
Maurice Stokes that year.
Twyman.
Uh-oh.
Twyman was a dominant force in the paint for the Kings.
Yeah.
You guys talk amongst yourselves. Kenny, why do you think that I have to figure out what happened to my clock here and what time we need to get out.
Oh.
So why do you think that the Kings are going to win tonight, Kenny?
Well, I think they're playing good basketball. I think Milwaukee, they were on their high. They were playing really good basketball, but I think they could be had tonight. I think they could be had. It's a tall task, man, going into Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You know, okay, let me say it right now. I don't want to hear, like, it may be correct, but I don't want to hear if Giannis goes off. See, this is why we need a wing.
Yeah,
All
no,
right,
no.
bro,
If Giannis,
like,
if
yeah.
Giannis cooks, Giannis cooks. There's nothing.
Like, all right,
yeah.
bro, stop.
Cam Johnson would never let this happen.
All right,
Well,
let's talk
that and
about Giannis.
they're coming off a horrible game. They are coming off a very,
Yeah, they
very
got
bad game.
smoked.
Knicks
by,
tape got
the
him.
Knicks.
Knicks tape got last night.
Yeah.
Beasley was
My
shimmy.
Pistons.
those are your
Oh.
My
Pistons.
Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. They're going to hit their over by February.
Mm.
All right, D'Lo and KC, they're coming up next. They're rocking with you until 4. James Ham and I, we're done for the day. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until then, drink water and be nice to people. This has been the Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center. Later, y'all. Appreciate you.
Bye, friends.
Good show today.